Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to revisit one of my favorite watercolor techniques, which is the cling wrap background technique. I'm resurrecting this technique for Watercolor Wednesday, and this time I'm going to be showing you a few different mediums than I used in the original video, which I'll link you to. The first video featured distress oxides, which I'm also using here onto a small piece of craft mat that I had cut down to work on my small work surface. And I'm just adding the ink directly to the craft mat, and then I'll activate it with water. So once I have a few different colors down here, I decided to add a yellow at the very end. Maybe the cling wrap in the shot was influencing me. And I'll just tear myself off a piece that's a little bit bigger than this card front. Now this is Bristol, and you do want a very water-friendly cardstock like Bristol to do this technique with. I'm going to add just a little bit more water. You really do want this to be pretty watery. You need it to stay wet to create the patterns that the cling wrap creates. So you'll want a lot of water on the surface. A quick drying ink won't work as well for this. While that's wet, you will grab your piece of cling wrap and put it down and just squish it to make little geometric patterns. You can sort of see how the patterns form with the wrinkles in the cling wrap, and you just want to set that aside to dry. So I'll speed up the other samples of this. I'm just going to clean my craft mat of what is left and do another background. The more you squinch up the cling wrap, the more of that texture and pattern you're going to get, like you see here. It's the air that creates the hard edges and the texture. So I'll clean up my craft mat a little bit and move on to the second medium. This is one of my favorites. So for this one, I will sprinkle Paper Artsy infusions onto the Bristol directly, just dry cardstock. I'm using lots of reds and pinks, some of my favorite infusions, and then I just activate that with water and add the cling wrap. You can see the pattern is very pronounced with this one. Part of that is the walnut crystals creating a darker pattern, but you can see what I mean about the air under the wrinkles being what creates the design for your background. Clean that up again, and you can see this one drying just a little bit. And I will switch to the third medium, which is Hero Hues Water Reactive inks. So these have some characteristics in common with distress oxides, but they don't have that chalky white finish that oxides do, so it's going to give you a really different look. And I'm using my holy trinity of colors, and I used a lot of water so that I could get a very Easter eggy pastel treatment on this Bristol paper. Now I can see that some of them have already dried. You really want it to totally dry. This one is much wetter, and so I need to be careful not to pull this one up too soon because the paint in those wet areas will seep into the places where the wrinkles have created the pattern, and you don't want that. So be patient. I've ruined a few doing that, so I know what I'm talking about. You just want to walk away and do something else while these are drying, and you'll get a much better result. So I'll remove the plastic wrap from the ones that are dry so you can see what's left behind. And it's almost like a tile pattern of stones on a walk. You can get all sorts of different looks, and no two are the same. So those are very, very fun. Now I will undo the Hero Arts very pastel one. I love the way this one turned out with those pale colors. And you just carefully remove it, and that one really glows, and you can see all sorts of different colors. Now saving the wettest one for last, and I probably should have waited just a little bit longer to unwrap this one, but it's hard when you're doing a video to just sit around and wait. But I can see that it's still wet on the back, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to preserve some of the texture. I'll lift it up for one corner, and oh my gosh, is that beautiful. Look at all those textures. They look like little fractals or something under a microscope. And the walnut crystals make it so warm and beautiful, and they add a second layer of texture. So here they are all as finished pieces, all very different. Like I said, you can't reproduce one if you try. They're all going to be a unique blend of that pattern you get at that time and what kind of medium you're using to get this effect. So here I've put these cute little mariachis on one of the backgrounds. You can head over to my blog for more information on this card. And thanks so much for watching.